Welcome back, everybody. It's your favorite Jake is here. We're back talking with Colin and Kenny, Derby City Fandom, and we have a very special topic that we're discussing today, don't we, boys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
What are we talking about?
Ahsoka, the end of season 1. So I think we determined it's like episode 6 through 8, but we're going to be probably talking about the whole series.
Yeah.
But specifically the conclusion.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, super excited. So, Colin, how did this season wrap up, rating-wise? Go.
So, overall rating, 86% Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa,
Okay.
Wow.
And a 7.7 out of 10.
I think that's roughly how we rated it anyways. So, yeah, at least it's consistent.
How would you guys rate it?
I think that this
Including the ending.
needs, it's clearly setting up for a second season. So I think it needs that second season more so than ever for it to get like a higher rating. So I think the 7.577 is correct.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same ballpark as you, Kenny. The 86 seems quite high to me. So I'd probably put like a 7.5,
Yeah.
77%, that same range. I thought the ending kind of flopped.
Kind of flat.
Yeah, it fell flat to me, but we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Interesting. So, I agree with you. It is a little on the higher side. Rotten Tomato-wise, I'd probably actually just give it an 80.
Yeah.
But
that's
IMDb, I
fair.
would give it an 8. So, just a flat 8 out of 10, 80% for me.
It's still definitely worth the
It's
watch.
definitely
still
worth
finish
the
the
watch.
season. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're definitely being introduced to new characters, obviously, and old characters. And yeah, let's just go on from there.
Sure. So from there, I guess, we finally get to the galaxy even further away. So we arrive to Perdia. I might be butchering that name.
Yeah, let's call it that.
But yeah, we get to Perdia. And who do we find at Perdia?
Well, my favorite, Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, my favorite, probably the Great Mothers. Or I take that back. Probably the Night Warriors, the Epoch Warriors.
Yes, they're
Are those the rock people?
No, they're the zombie stormtroopers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. Yes. But the Night Sisters, for me, they're an interesting group. I'm actually intrigued to see where that storyline is going to go.
Sure.
I was just confused on that. Maybe you guys can elaborate a little bit more. Like, I don't understand the point of them. Like, why are they helping? Why are they helping Thrawn?
Oh God!
Where do we start?
Never mind, man. If it's too long,
This it's actually important to the plot, and this is the weird rabbit hole that Star Wars has gotten itself into now.
No, I wouldn't say that. No,
I would, but to each their own.
if you watch the animated series,
does it explain the animated series?
yes.
Okay.
But if you hadn't watched it, then obviously you're going to be confused as hell. So basically, the Night Sisters were born on Perdia.
Yes,
Essentially,
born on Perdia, they make their way out to Dathomir eventually,
and that is where Mother Talzin comes into play, and she basically,
basically
collaborates with Count Dooku and
with the Sith in particular.
With the Sith in particular, exactly, and she produces for them Darth Maul.
Yes,
And
Darth Maul is Talzin's son, for the record.
Oh my gosh!
So that's actually kind of important.
Wow. Dang.
So essentially, she produces that, and then he has a brother. What's his brother's name?
Savage?
Savage Opress. Yeah, and so they basically kind of work together to work along with the Sith, and then they kind of have like a little vengeful thing against Obi-Wan, and there's some more shit that involves there.
You'd be pretty upset with somebody cutting you in half for the first time.
But long story short, I guess General Grievous comes to Dathomir with his droid army and basically wreaks havoc on all of the Night Sisters.
Does he ever.
He freaking kills Mother Talzin, and you'll see, like, in the last episode where the Night Sisters produce the sword that Elsbeth has, and it's called the Talzin sword, or the sword of Talzin.
It was the sword that she used in particular.
Right.
So, yeah,
exactly.
they just kind of poof it out of magic.
Right. So if you don't know... If you didn't watch the series, the animated series, then you don't know what the fuck Talzin is. You're just thinking, oh, they just made up a word and here's a sword. No, Talzin was
the leader and like the biggest problem for the Republic that was not immediately Sith.
But with the battle between General Grievous and the Night Sisters, she ends up using her, call it witchcraft. I guess, no, that's technically right.
It is correct.
Brings a bunch of Night Sister zombies, I guess.
Sure. Revenant zombies. You can choose the word for it.
Even with that witchcraft, she still loses. But anyway, there's a long story to get all up to that point. But I'm very, very interested into what is, in fact, in the cargo that is on Grand Admiral's ship, because you see at the end of the episode of episode 8, he has all the cargo. I keep saying,
the containers. Yeah,
I don't know if those containers are in fact like coffins, because maybe they unburied like all the coffins of the Night Sisters, and they're gonna go to Dathomir and raise the dead, if you will, or maybe there's something else in the cargo that they're gonna use to create the.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm right there with you.
There's all kinds of theories out there, and I'm kind of thinking it's like some Night Sister carcasses that they're gonna. That's my theory.
I'm sure it's gonna be weaponized.
Just casually, in a metal box.
Well, she died on Dathomir, but
oh yeah.
But I guess they could find the bodies that are there on Dathomir and raise them as well, and basically have some kind of grand army, if you will.
Sure. That we get into the weird bit where we've now gotten to the point where Star Wars is both about the Force, which is basically magic, in a world that has science on the level that is basically magic, and then there's also just magic.
Yeah, there's all kinds of space magic that some people may get turned off about, but me personally, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm very excited to see where things go.
It's kind of one of those things where it's always been there, but it's never been more mainstream until right now.
Yeah.
So,
But let's boil down the last episode. Or
even like the ones before then. Because I guess my big thing is that my fan theory was wrong, at least for this first season.
Remind people of fan theory. Okay.
Oh, that both Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra were going to die in this one particular season. That is clearly false.
That is definitely false.
Yeah, it's definitely false.
Yeah. So how do you all feel about Ezra basically becoming like Space Moses?
God, when you put it like that, it kind of pisses me off because, there's a lot of chatter on like Reddit and all that kind of shit that everybody thinks like, in regards to the animated series, that Ezra Bridger is kind of like a little pussy ass bitch essentially. But the animated series for me, like I see your point, but at the same time, he's young and he's obviously gonna have a little bit of an attitude and whiny. So yeah, but
that was his character back in the animated stuff. But I think I like this Ezra a bit better, and we've only seen him for 3 episodes.
Right. So my first interaction was okay. I wasn't put off, but I wasn't like fuck yeah. Well, I mean, I was like fuck yes, we get to see a live action Ezra Bridger, but at the same time, I wasn't like taken back. Like, dude, I'm excited about this Ezra Bridger live action character. So far, I have mixed feelings.
So, from someone's perspective that has never watched the animated series, I was kind of disappointed in Ezra Bridger. Like everyone talks him up so much, and then when we first saw him, Kenny, to your point, he was like this space Moses character. But in episode 7, we finally get to see him in action, right? So
sure, Haiti
and the Night Stormtroopers or whatever they're called, they kind of attack Bridger and gang. And then there's none of this fight scene, and Bridger's like, "Oh, I don't use the lightsaber anymore." I'm like, "What the hell? You're a freaking Jedi. Get the lightsaber. I don't care how good you are with the Force or whatever, but I don't know. Just it rubbed me the wrong way. It pissed me off." But so I'm not a Bridger fan ever since he turned away the lightsaber.
Colin may be going there.
Go ahead, please.
One of my things that I have noticed, I guess, just throughout like every new Star Wars thing where like Jedis are involved is that there's some new level of like Force usage that we see. Like we see Kylo Ren like stop a bolter blast like mid-air with the Force. That was epic. But then we see like a more practical use from Ezra where he's using the Force to like, you know,
stop a lightsaber.
Stop the lightsaber, which is like the like sophisticated weapon of like an old era as it's often described.
I have no quarrels with them amplifying the power of the Force. Like that didn't bother me. I think it's kind of fun to watch and cool. Maybe you guys disagree with that. Maybe you don't care for how the Star Wars world's going that way, but I was just more irritated. I don't know. I want to see some badass lightsaber fighting.
You do see that.
Yeah, you do. Well, but like everyone's talking about Bridger and like how great of a warrior he is. I'm like, well, use your fucking lightsaber, man. It's like I'm here to be entertained. It's like, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way.
I hear you. I hear you.
Colin, go ahead.
I hear you. So this, I kind of have two things that I want to bring up. First off, at the end of Rebels, he in fact actually doesn't have his lightsaber.
Yes, that is actually correct.
So you're going to be going with the space whales. You don't have your lightsaber, so you're going to have to, you know, train yourself to improvise and be one with the Force, if you will. So obviously you don't have any weapons, and you're just going to have to basically embrace that and become one with the Force. But let's take a step back a little bit. Further. So when Ezra is training with Kanan Jarrus, he ends up being taught how to build a lightsaber. So his lightsaber at that time was a lightsaber, but it also had a blaster on it. So it's kind of like the hilt, but with a handle extended off to make it like a gun, essentially. So his lightsaber and a gun all built into one.
Yes.
So it's actually pretty fucking cool. But he doesn't have that in the lightsaber that he ended up giving to Sabine. And he was like, no, that's yours. Like, no, I feel that. Like
that
he, in
one
fact,
is yours.
did give that to her.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're isolated for years, you're obviously going to train yourself to not necessarily be able to use a lightsaber, and you're going to think of other kind of stuff. Yeah. Now, one thing that I wanted to bring up, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but the outfit that he was wearing, did y'all notice that he kind of had like some chainmail kind of stuff going on?
Yeah, the chainmail. That was interesting.
So the chainmail he was wearing was actually the dog tags that all the stormtroopers would have had. So all the chainmail was in fact dog tags. So that goes to show, okay, he clearly killed some freaking stormtroopers and used their dog tags to make chainmail.
Okay.
So
I don't think I realized
not only
that.
are you building yourself armor, if you will, but you're improvising and using the Force as a weapon. And so I feel like you would be stronger with the Force not having that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
I get it, man. I get it. I was just looking forward to him slicing some dark stormtroopers in half.
Right.
But in comparison, like between, like when he ended up using the Force to stop Shin's lightsaber, between the two, I would give the advantage more to Ezra because if you're isolated for that long, you're obviously going to take advantage. Whereas she kind of just is a Padawan, not as strong. But at the same time, her master was in fact Baylan Skoll. I think he's a badass. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Or does he? It's interesting.
I don't know.
Some of the fan theories that
He makes
have,
a comment. He's like hearing a voice or feeling a new force on that planet.
Yeah, so that is some of the fun things that I think Colin
The
and
Mortis gods?
Yeah, so clearly that what's his name? Filoni?
Dave Filoni,
Dave
yes.
Filoni really wants to make a point that this Mortis episode back in like his season like 4 or 5 of the show is like actually super important.
Super important, so he's
And it
bringing that
is if you
into
know what
live
goes
action.
on. So Colin, how would you describe that episode for Jake, who probably has no idea what we're talking about?
Are you talking about for the animated episode?
For the animated episode.
So Jake, they end up. So it's Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan.
Yes.
So all three of them, basically are going.
They're just
There's
traveling.
they're traveling, but they're
thing.
following like some kind of signal or something, and they basically go into this interdimensional world between worlds kind of thing, whatever, and they end up going to this planet that is just they can't really comprehend what the hell is going on.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't have a name on any of their charts or anything. They only find the name out from the 3 people that they encounter on that planet.
What was the name of it? Do you remember?
I mean, I'm pretty sure Mortis was the name of the planet.
Okay, let's go with that. So they eventually meet this female who's known as the daughter. They meet the daughter first.
They meet the
right?
daughter first, and then I think they meet both the father and the son at the same time.
Right. So the father, daughter, and son. So,
Oh.
so the
right.
father
I know
is
what you're talking
basically like the balance between the two. So the son is the dark side. The daughter is the light side.
Yes.
And the father basically is the balance between the two. And basically,
What you see at the start of the
Yes,
series.
it is the thing they've been alluding to the entire time in Ahsoka.
So the theory is that's where those gods are.
the Mortis gods. So that's
hanging
The
out.
Mortis
so
gods
the statue
maybe
that like has the guy with his hand out that Baylan Skoll is standing on. That's the father.
The balance
The balance of the 3, 2, whatever you want to
of
call
the
it.
2. Yeah.
Interesting.
But you see like him almost kind of like pointing into a direction, so they pan out away from the statue, and you see like this beaming light that's kind of like the father is pointing at.
Yes.
So that is clearly the direction that Baylan wants to go. So something is
calling him.
attracting him. So that's why he's like, I'm hearing voices, some kind of strong force connection, something like that. So
Yes. And so the best way that I can describe it is that these 3 individuals are basically a personification of the Force itself, right? Mm-hmm. So, especially on a planet called Mortis, which, if my Latin is correct, Mortis just means death.
yeah. Oh my God, it's kind of an important thing. So the father. We're talking about the animated series right now, just so we're all clear.
But it all
The
comes
father
back, don't
ends
worry.
up meeting with Anakin and kind of basically telling him everything that they're about. So
Yes.
he explains to him, the father's the balance, the dark side, the light side, and they kind of like turn the father or the son and daughter. They kind of turn into like
They're constantly
an eagle.
fighting each other.
Yeah,
they can shape shift. Like it becomes a dragon. The other one becomes like this weird other thing. I forget what the sun turns into.
So long story short, I'm just gonna
Paraphrasing, super hard here.
Ahsoka dies.
Ahsoka dies. Anakin is shown his future.
Yes.
Which is probably even more important.
That is, yeah. I honestly kind of forgot about that for half a second. So he actually is shown his future, and
he has a meltdown.
Yeah, he freaks out.
I don't blame the dude. I don't want to see how I'm going to die.
If you're showing your future that you're turning into like some kind of serial killer or some shit, I'd be like, no, okay. Well, essentially, Ahsoka dies, and then she eventually gets brought back, whatever. So
yeah, through the sacrifice of the daughter.
Exactly. So the daughter is dead at this point, but is reincarnated through Ahsoka.
Through a butterfly, right? I think.
Yeah.
Now?
Well, no,
it's a bird.
Maybe it's a bird because the bird is always in every scene with Ahsoka. If you look up in the sky, there's always a bird. And you see that at the end of the Clone Wars episode where Darth Vader picks the lightsaber that Ahsoka had on that ship in the snow, and you see a bird up there. So
yeah, you see the bird quite a bit. You see him in the
Mandalorian. So that's where your references are.
So you guys think that, kind of looping back to Ahsoka series here, you guys think that's the theory? That's where Skull...
That Filoni is definitely trying to incorporate the end to the Mortis storyline.
100%. I mean, that's basically his child.
Like it is probably the most.
He came up with the character Ahsoka in the
to begin with, yes.
To begin with,
but then it's just like, okay, the next most important thing that he's introduced to Star Wars canon as a whole was Mortis.
Yep,
and everything that happened there. Now, I guess just to make the timeline all like nice and convenient, Anakin does lose his memory, so he doesn't know that he's going to become Darth Vader and kill everyone. So, they make that a bit more tidy just in terms of storytelling. Yeah. But, oh my gosh, it's if we could actually see the conclusion to the Mortis storyline, I am down to watching season 2.
Oh no, there's definitely going to be a conclusion to it, and maybe even further than that. They may, dude. I don't know. I'm excited to find out. But anyway, let's get back into Ahsoka.
All right, back to Ahsoka.
So obviously you see them going to the temple, that being Ezra Bridger, Sabine, and Ahsoka. And the ship is shooting down at them, and they eventually get in, and they kill all the clone troopers or stormtroopers.
Night troopers.
Night troopers.
Is what they are called. I looked it up, don't worry.
Whatever the fuck. Anyway.
I mean, just call them zombie troopers, because guess what?
Anyway, the Night Sisters do their fucking voodoo after they kill them all, and then you see a freaking like Game of Thrones rendition of bringing all the stormtroopers back to fucking life, and Jon Snow trying to make his way to the Night King. Well, that didn't work out very well for him. Anyway, getting off subject.
Where did we just go with this?
That's essentially what happens is the stormtroopers are brought back to life, and they're zombies at this point, and they're trying to get up to the ship because all the cargo has been loaded. Grand Admiral Thrawn is
trying to escape,
but essentially Thrawn says to Morgan Elsbeth, go
sacrifice yourself.
Go be a distraction.
Stall for time.
Exactly. And so
see,
she brings out the sword.
All right. Continue on, Colin, then I'll get to my rant of why this whole thing fell flat for me.
Okay. So essentially, she goes off, try and stall time, and basically she brings out the Sword of Talzin and fights off Ahsoka. Well, yes. She loses,
but
hard. It wasn't even that much of. It wasn't even a cool fight scene.
It didn't last long, but it's just like another interesting thing that I don't think this sword was technically like Beskar or Balskar or whatever. Beskar. So it was just like, this other thing in the Star Wars universe that doesn't just get immediately sliced in half by a lightsaber. But, it's also magic, so whatever, right?
Well, Ahsoka had 2 lightsabers, and she did end up destroying one, so it may have been Beskar.
Possibly. Because I know that Elspeth does have the Beskar spear, right? And
Well, no, that was given. That was one from Ahsoka, because she and the Mandalorian, she fought.
I thought
Morgan.
Elspeth had something to do with it, though.
No, she did have a spear, and so she ended up winning a duel essentially against Ahsoka, or the other way around, I guess. And so she took the spear. Then she gave the spear to the Mandalorian.
Okay,
so
that's our connection there. Then okay,
Yes.
I was just mixed up on who did what.
But no, Morgan Elsbeth dies, and then you see Ezra and Sabine try and get on the ship, and she basically is able to use the Force at this point to
Kind of throw him.
throw him onto the ship, but Sabine ends up staying on the planet to, I guess, help out Ahsoka. I don't remember that.
Well,
part exactly.
I think Sabine at that point knows that Ezra is so much better than her that I'm going to let him go deal with Thrawn.
Yeah, and the great part is, the two troopers that are right there, he basically, essentially throws them off or kills them, and you hear the troopers communicate over the radio. So that's something that you see in the animated series. He ends up using their radios to basically fuck with them. And it's like, let's go to this location. So you see that in the animated series. So he has a collection of like helmets, stormtrooper helmets, and a bunch of other stuff. So I think that was kind of definitely a throwback to the animated series, which I enjoyed. And then I guess he ends up going to, or Grand Admiral Thrawn goes into hyperspace, but Ezra ends up escaping and going in.
It just
Seeing
lands back on
General
the planet.
Syndulla.
Yeah.
But they all come out to the ship and see that it's in fact Ezra. So
Reunites with Chopper.
Yep.
yeah, because Chopper's the first one. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? And he goes up, and then he takes off his helmet, and he's like, "Hey, Hera, Ezra? Oh my god!" The real hero of this entire series for me personally is freaking Chopper.
Oh, it's not Huey, not Hugh Wang.
He's pretty cool. I like him too.
He's cool, but Chopper, dude, he's a freaking war criminal. So
Yes,
support
canonically he is, but by that logic, so is R2D2.
All right. Here's
less.
Less so, on a slightly smaller scale.
Okay, I want to hear Jake's freaking.
Go ahead, Jake.
So here's my rant. It ended. Well, first of all, so they get to the temple, and I was expecting this big fight scene, and I think they tried their best. Like, it was fun to watch, but I think Kenny, you mentioned earlier, it was pretty quick. So Ahsoka, even her fight with, is it Elsbeth? Is that the witch's name?
Yes.
Morgan, yep.
Morgan Elsbeth.
So like, even that fight, I'm like, okay, whatever. It was fun to watch, but it wasn't really, I don't know. It didn't excite me. But then you have the scene like them trying to get on the ship, and Ezra Bridger escapes, as Colin just alluded to, as Colin just explained. And the three of them, Huyang, Ahsoka, and Ren,
are now
just stranded on this planet. And the entire time I'm thinking, I'm like, what was the fucking point of all this? Like, you guys went there to go save Bridger. Now you guys are in
Bridger
trouble.
effectively saved himself.
And Bridger saved himself, and now Thrawn is still headed toward the other fucking galaxy. It was like, it made no, I don't know. I thought the writing of it was just horrible. I was like, what the hell? It made no sense to me. And I don't know, maybe I was the only one that viewed it like that. Where I was like, this plot, it was bad writing. It just
Possibly, yeah. So I think that was one of my like fan theory prediction things is that, okay, there has to be some way that they get back. Now, only, arguably the most important person in the entire series, Ezra Bridger, makes it back through the Eye of Sion. Well, the Purrgil are wherever the fuck they are now. Yeah. So how are the people that are
they fucking bailed because as soon as they came out of hyperspace, the minefield, and they were like, "Oh, dude, I just came into a minefield. I'm getting fucking bombed. I'm ditching this bitch that was in my mouth for thousands of miles."
Is it one of those? Is it one of those things where it's like, okay, since they've been there, are they able just to light speed travel back now that they actually have the coordinates for it? Like there's
they can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want, but the problem, Well, no, I'm not talking about the whales. I'm talking about the writers at this point.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you make that make sense without it seem lazy?
Oh, so you're saying like because
think it's
they're
lazy.
stuck on that planet now, you think the space
They have to
whales
find a way to get off of it now.
Yeah.
It's lazy because the entire season was they were trying to find a way to get there, and it was exciting. It's like, oh, there's this fucking space whale path, and like it was so cool. But to your point, Kenny, it's gonna be lazy. I guarantee you, it's gonna be lazy writing for the next season. We're like, well, we already know the path. We'll follow this one random whale down there. And I'm like, God,
part of that might.
hell?
I feel like this is where we're gonna finally see the effects of the writer's strike in like the MCU Star Wars.
And maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Season 1 of Ahsoka would have been
Film
far enough in production where the writer's strike had not happened yet.
Correct.
I walked away at the final episode. The only thing I was excited about was Skull's plot.
Skull just fucking off.
Yeah, I was most interested and intrigued on like what the fuck that guy's doing.
Yeah.
Like we're stuck with 3 main characters on this random planet in a different galaxy.
Yeah,
No,
because
5.
Skull's there.
Skull,
And then
Shin's still there, yeah.
Sabine, Ahsoka, Huang.
Yeah, and Shin's the other one. I was like, she just joined some random like native group. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm,
Well, yeah, because Shin's just like, well, I've been abandoned by my master.
no, well,
Kinda, sorta, maybe.
He said to her basically, long story short, to create your own path. That's what I kind of took from what he was saying to her, because he obviously went there with a purpose, but he had the full intention once they got there to what's another no I'm gonna say abandon her essentially and tell her to make your own path. So
It's like, oh, you've graduated. You're like, you're a not Jedi now. Go figure it out.
Thanks,
yourself.
dude, for leaving me on this
she's
random
gonna
planet in a
have
different galaxy.
some kind of
Development.
what I'm trying to say is coming. It's not there, but she essentially is going to join Ahsoka's crew.
Oh, she's going to
I
turn
think so
size.
too. They're already
Turn
kind
coded.
of. They're already
She's
kind of
gonna have
hinted
like
at it.
a pivotal moment, like, oh, well, this actually doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah, so she's definitely joined the natives, like you said. That didn't make sense to me. I thought that was fucking absolutely retarded. But she is definitely gonna join Ahsoka's crew. Why wouldn't she? Otherwise, she's gonna end up fucking dying along with those fucking natives. Now, the Ninja Turtles are ironically going to kill all of them. But anyway, no, she's gonna join the crew, and then I don't know, since Ray Stevenson, he is unfortunately passed away, RIP, by the way. So I'm wondering, I'm really curious who they are going to have take his place.
Or if they've already filmed enough of it.
They may have. That's a big blow
they
for
may
me.
have.
What do you mean filmed enough of it?
Well, because here's the thing with film production. If you're going to go to X location, you're going to film scenes out of order because it costs a lot of money to bring
so you're
everybody
saying-
there.
So you think Ray Stevenson?
I think his parts
he's-
have already been done.
Interesting. Okay.
That is my
But they're going
hope.
to get to a point where his storyline is going to have to continue, and then they're going to have to fill it.
Correct. That's
fill
season
his-
2, but I'm thinking that either they have already... I mean, of course, they wouldn't know that the actor himself was going to pass away, but, they can write out Baylan Skoll saying, oh, he found his MacGuffin that he's looking for, and he dies, either in combat or through some other means.
He was abandoned.
I don't want
like
that.
everyone else.
I really don't want. I don't want that. Like, I don't want his character to die off just because the actor died. No, that's fucking lazy ass writing.
I think they'll recast him.
They need to recast him 100% and continue on with the storyline. If they recast, fine, but they need to
Problem is,
bring in an actor that can fill his shoes, because him as an actor, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Sure. I just can't think of too many actors in my wheelhouse of actors that have that same sort of, I guess, just facial structure, facial hair, like, just build in general. It's like, makeup and CGI, you can, like, do like fucking magic. But at the end of the day, it is just the accent and the how he carries himself as his character that makes the role.
So there's kind of like a Reddit kind of thing of like who they would want to fill.
Who would they cast?
And I kind of tend to agree with what they're saying. So they are putting out there Liev Schreiber, who was in all kinds of movies. He's in the movie Sum of All Fears with like Ben Affleck and a bunch of other cats. What other movies is he in?
Schreiber? I don't remember.
Oh, there's a bunch of shit.
Okay, but I could see Schreiber. I think I do agree with that. Throw a beard on him.
He's in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Oh, he's in Defiance with Daniel Craig, so he plays his brother. If y'all remember that movie, it's a World War II movie.
Yes, I do.
And Chicago 10 and a bunch of other shit. But no, I could definitely see him filling his shoes because he's kind of like a tall, buff dude.
Tall, buff, bit older.
Yeah,
that's kind of the thing.
So I think
it'd be hard to replicate.
I wouldn't be
accent.
disappointed because I actually I don't mind that actor whatsoever.
Okay, I think I am in agreement with you in that regards.
But overall, for this series, what do y'all think?
I'll go first. I thought it was a fun series. I love the characters. I love pretty much everything leading up to the final episode, the different planets, the whole environment of all the different environments that they're immersed in, that the audience gets immersed in. Especially, I mean, it has space whales. How do you not like space whales?
Yeah,
I think there was like fun plots leading up to it. Like I was very intrigued about this General Thrawn, and I was, just where it was all going. I just unfortunately the ending just made little sense to me.
Right,
and
which
it was just kind of boring and just fell very flat, and it kind of ruined it for me. Obviously, I'm looking forward to season 2. I mean, obviously, they're going to be getting off that planet and going back home. But it just feels like they should have done a better job of wrapping it up.
Sure. And I guess for my point, some of that is like, okay, they clearly know that this season is going to make money, so they are going to make a season 2. That being said, I find it odd that it's only Ezra that made it off that particular planet. I was kind of hoping that it would be Ezra and Sabine to like be like our main characters, like our main hero characters to start out for like Ahsoka season 2. Mostly because it was the Sabine show for the first half of the series.
Yeah, the title's misleading too.
But
I don't think it's the Ahsoka show.
I like that I was wrong. That these characters that I thought were going to die horribly somehow in this show are still alive. We do see Thrawn and Ezra interacting with each other after that Ezra managed to escape Thrawn for however long it's been.
It was like 15 years,
15 years, yeah.
Yeah, like Thrawn needed the other characters to find him.
Yeah, which
basically
is weird. Well, we get into the weird bit that Thrawn is easily like one of the smartest people tactician wise, like that the Empire ever has had. But he doesn't have the Force.
No.
So that is what Ezra will always have, like, to his advantage. And he's able to kind of use that and survive and, like, hide himself for the better part of 2 decades.
So one thing that we kind of neglected to mention is the fact that Thrawn actually knows who Anakin Skywalker is. And he actually knows, in fact, who Darth Vader is. He
Correct.
actually is able to put the two and two together. He ends up finding that out.
Which is why
I enjoy Thrawn so much, because he is, in fact, that smart.
he knows that he has to at least take Ahsoka seriously.
Exactly. And if you notice in the last, or episode 7 maybe, when he asked one of the Night Sisters,
Elspeth,
is
right.
it just one spaceship? And then he tries to basically get the Night Sisters to figure out who this chick is.
Yes.
And
he asked for Ahsoka's entire backstory.
And he ends up finding that her master was Anakin Skywalker. So he is able to put 2 and 2 together, so he knows to take her more seriously as opposed to just some rando. You know what I mean?
Right. Like the same kind of thought line that I was mentioning in one of our previous episodes, that Baylan Skoll knows who taught Ahsoka. So that is why he's so cautious around dealing with her. And that's why Shin doesn't understand.
Right. You know, this is kind of off topic, but on topic at the same time. So I've seen a kind of like a subreddit fan theory kind of thing that Baylan Skoll may or may not be the kid when Anakin goes into the Jedi Temple, and that little moment, like, Master Skywalker, what are we supposed to do?
Oh,
and
he's
then
that one.
So that kid supposedly is Baylan Skoll. Now, the kid may be old enough or maybe too young. I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced of this theory, but I'm just kind of putting it out there that may have been Baylan Skoll. And so he, in fact, knows that Anakin Skywalker is, in fact, Darth Vader. Just a thought.
Yes. He definitely knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, because he says it earlier in the season that it's like everybody in the Order knew who Anakin Skywalker was, because Anakin Skywalker was on pace to becoming the next Jedi Master on the Council. But when he gets spurned by the Council, he has the beginning moments of his fall, right? But
well, I guess for me personally, I would say it goes back to Attack of the Clones when his mother died. I think that was the beginning, and then the stepping stones following that being one of them, definitely. You know, it is what he wanted. He wanted to be on the Council, but you can't really be on the Council without being a master. I get that point of view, but at the same time, that's not necessarily true, in my opinion.
it's one of those things where
They coincide, they
through-
go hand in hand, but not
necessarily.
It's a troubling time, I guess.
Troubling times, yes.
But yeah, no, for me, I guess the show, I don't think Dave Filoni flopped
No.
on the series as a whole. I get where Jake's coming from. Maybe the last episode wasn't as great as he was expecting. I get that. But at the same time, you can't just leave everything
There's
on
almost
the
too
field.
much.
You can't leave
left.
everything on the field on the last episode of the first season. You have to, if there's like the last episode last season, then yeah, I would say leave everything out on the field.
Sure.
But there has to be a season 2, because you can't cover everything that needs to be covered in one season.
Now, that being said,
I get it. No, I understand that argument. But my argument is the last episode was completely counterproductive of what the whole season was about.
Yeah.
Like, they went there to go save Ezra Bridger. Like, that was the whole thing.
And then Sabine gives him that little forced push to get him up onto the ship. And then Ezra just basically saves himself and strands everybody else there.
I just think it was poor writing. Do I think the characters are badass? Yeah, I do. I think it's a lot of fun. Do I look forward to season 2? Yeah, I do. And I just hope they write it better.
So where I agree with Jake is that I don't think it left us with enough of a hook for season 2.
Yeah, what's the hook? Oh, Ahsoka's going to go off this planet now?
It's
like, what the hell is she doing there anyway? It's like...
But there's somewhat of a hook, because towards the end of the episode, the last episode, when with the Ninja Turtles and shit, and Sabine kind of has this little like thing where she sees a bunch of stars or maybe hears a voice or whatever, and you see Anakin's Force ghost.
Yeah.
So like
that's like
to me his
one.
facial reaction that says to me, hey, I'm happy with where you're at. You're exactly where you need to be.
Sure. So,
and you kind of, and that was kind of pissed me off a little bit. I'm going to go on a rant here again.
Go for it. This is why we are here.
In the Return of the Jedi, when Hayden Christensen's Anakin is inserted into the older Star Wars along with Yoda and Obi-Wan.
The remastered credits?
Right. That shit. That pissed me off in the beginning, but I kind of get it now because the facial reaction he had looking over at Luke was exactly the same facial expression looking at Ahsoka. So, like, he's content. You're exactly where you need to be. I get it. But at the same time,
Yeah.
Oh,
gosh.
I don't think Dave Filoni, for me, I don't think he dropped the ball with this series at all. And then casting, like, actors who portray characters, for me, I think it was 95% on point. Sabine, I guess, could have been a better actress, personally, but that, whatever. Hera was on point. Ezra, okay, whatever. And then obviously we had C-3PO, the original actor that played that. That was fucking cool.
Yeah,
Mon Mothma was in it. And a bunch of other people, man. I thought it was pretty cool. And especially Grand Admiral Thrawn, the actor that played the Grand Admiral Thrawn in the animated series is in fact playing the live action. Lars, what?
I am looking
Michelson, something like that.
Michelson, yeah.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Just hearing, the first time when he was on screen,
and you hearing
his voice.
It's such a trip back, man.
It was freaking awesome. And you know, the integrity of the show, it showed. There's a lot of effort.
Filoni cares. At
He
the end of
does,
the day,
dude.
he cares about where Star Wars is going, and he cares about his own stuff that he wrote like 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, I have respect for it. It was a fun watch. I look forward to, hell, I mean, I'm going to give Disney Plus my money for season 2. You know, like, I'm not being that critical of it.
No, they're
going
to get my money for a long time. I have stock in them, and I currently have the app. So, yeah, I'm going to make money off of Disney Plus.
You've tripled down.
Their stock can only go up from this point.
Yeah.
Unless they freaking do a flop job on Marvel or Star Wars or even like the Disney original film, that kind of bullshit. Like they have to just continue to go up. There's no way they're gonna go down. There's no way.
I'm right there with you.
So at the end of the day, I think the one thing that we can probably expect without too much, I wouldn't even really call it a fan theory at this point. The Mortis storyline is going to be expanded more. Like, there's no way they're getting around it. It's like we've seen the different statues. We've seen that the one statue is, like, you know, dead, like broken, right?
Yep.
So it's all clearly called back to that one episode. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. Is like, okay, this one like seemingly obtuse storyline that was technically canon, but then because of mind wipes and memory erasure, like, you know, none of it really mattered. They're actually expanding on it, and that this particular, like, you know, Force God Mortis, you know, father, son, daughter, all of those actually had further influences outside of just Mortis, which seems to almost entirely be because of the Night Sisters kind of like propagating that throughout the galaxy, is what I'm looking forward to probably the most. Like, you know, I enjoy the idea that Thrawn and Ezra are going to be like, you know, butting heads again, but I think I'm probably most interested in the Mortis stuff.
Well, that's how the episode leaves it. Like, for for a viewer like me, I was more interested in what Baylan Skoll was up to at the end of the season. But in reality, what season 2 is going to be, I mean, there's going to be probably some of that, and this is just my speculation, my theory, that it's going to be one of the plot lines is what he's doing. But the more important major plot line is going to be Thrawn. Yeah. And it just, the finale does not leave, like, any taste in your mouth that there's this giant threat coming to the other galaxy. Like, they're so, and the people who are going to stop it are stranded in the other galaxy.
Right.
So, like, I'm looking forward to probably what Skull's up to, but I'm also like, I was looking forward to, like, I want to see this Thrawn threat like start realizing. So, like, you know, arriving in the next galaxy or whatever galaxy that they're, you know, the original one is.
Kenny, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
If you're finished, Jake.
Yeah, go.
Would you rather see Sabine and Ezra face off against Thrawn or Ezra and Hera?
Against Thrawn?
Against Thrawn.
So I know what I want, and then I think what I am going to expect here. So I want Ezra and Sabine to fight Thrawn. That being said, I think it's going to be just Sabine by herself. That is my hot take.
What do you mean Sabine by herself?
I don't know, like through writing, like Ezra dies, like at like episode like 3.
Man, you're really banking on poor Ezra, dude. Kenny's just trying to kill him off.
He doesn't. He's not alive by the time that Rey is in the picture. That's the thing.
I mean,
if he's not alive, he's at least not documented to be alive, right?
I don't. Okay.
So
yeah, I see your point.
These characters have to die somehow.
Ezra eventually is going to die.
They all die before Rey comes around?
They have to.
Like, they are written out of the story.
Why is that? How? Why? Explain.
Well, I say written out of the story. It hasn't happened. They're just not mentioned. Like, how do you go... like, even in, like, the newer Star Wars films, like, they bring up, like, okay, Anakin, Obi-Wan, like, you know, the... like post-Empire Republic. They talk up, hell, they even talk about some of the old Republic in those newer films. Like, we just don't see any mention of Thrawn or Ezra. For the lack of a better word, we don't even get much mention of Sabine or Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka's kind of there, but that was like the big kind of like fan like give me in that film. Is that, okay, Ahsoka is actually still around, so Ahsoka still makes it, but where's everybody else that's in this series?
That's a fair point, Kenny. For me personally, I would 100% prefer to have Ezra and Hera go against Thrawn, because that just, militarily speaking, if that's correct.
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
because she's
a general.
She's a general. Yeah, exactly. That makes sense to me. Ezra and Sabine, that does not make sense to me because Ahsoka took her on as a Padawan. There still needs to be some training there. They still need to have their bond so that they can communicate telepathically or using the Force, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So they are obviously, while they're trapped on that planet, they're going to have more of like a bonding experience, training, that kind of shit. So while Ezra and Hera are facing Thrawn, and they inevitably probably will die. I think you're right about that, Kenny. But then that kind of begs the question, what the fuck happens with Jason then? Does he die as well?
I mean, why would
introduce a kid character and then automatically kill him off later?
That's what I'm trying to say.
It's like,
man.
but that's any number of the younglings that, you know, we thought were all dead, that were magically not dead because Disney needs plot lines.
And I find it funny, Colin, that you're like debating who's going to be fighting Thrawn, if it's Sabine or Hera or Ezra, you know.
Thrawn obviously dies and loses.
But the problem I have with that is the series is called fucking Ahsoka. So you would think Ahsoka would be fighting Thrawn.
Well, here's the funny thing,
but
though.
Ezra and Thrawn have unfinished business. So that's why I'm encouraging that.
No, I'm not discouraging it. I just think the whole this whole thing it just
It's called
seems
Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's not really in the show. That I
mean,
agree
it's just
with you. I agree
it's
with you. There
poor.
needs-
It's poorly managed. It's poorly written.
Well-
It's like just call a spade a spade. If they wanted to make if it's Rebels or whatever, that's what they should have just done.
Just Rebels too. But where the thing that I am like kind of struggling with is that at the end of the day, Thrawn is a good tactician. He's not really the greatest fighter. Like you can still shoot him
I
just as
disagree with that.
easily
I
as
disagree with
everybody
that.
else.
I disagree with that.
So like for all we know, Hugh Wang could just come up and shoot him in the back.
because in the animated series, you actually see Thrawn like with his shirt off, but he's still wearing like a I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like a unisex like
Undershirt, something or
shirt,
another.
something like that. That's skin tight, and he's like fighting a robot or whatever the fuck he's doing. But he's clearly training, and he's a ripped dude. You see that in the animated series.
It's been a minute. I've forgotten that.
I would disagree with you, Kenny. I think he knows how to fight, but I think he's going to choose, like you said, his brain, his tactical skills, and all that before.
Are clearly better than his physical ability.
But he knows what he's doing if he were to get in a fist fight, though.
Okay, I must have forgotten that episode from way back when.
I am more of a fan than you are, Kenny.
No, I just know that you have watched it a bit more recently than I.
Multiple times, actually.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, so closing thoughts.
I think I've already announced my closing thoughts.
Yeah, we have for a while. The
We
series
kind of went off a little tangent there.
It was fun though. It was fun. Here are our rants and theories.
This series is in a dire need of a season 2. Now, how quickly the season 2 will come out is, I guess,
It's
up
going
in
to be
the
after
air.
the writer's strike. That's for damn
That's
sure.
for damn sure.
Well, if they would just pay the writers a fair wage,
Yeah,
then we can actually get that.
Pay people for
Yeah.
the worth that they know they are worth, instead of trying to replace them with a bunch of AI robots.
I don't know.
That is what it is.
Pay your employees, damn it, so we can move on.
Yeah, so yes, pay your employees so the rest of us plebeians can get our content.
All right, let's try and keep politics out of our podcast, please.
Hey man, you gotta
anyways.
stand with the people.
Anyway, hey guys, please check us out. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, anywhere you can find us on the social medias and podcast streaming services. Please give us a like, follow, subscribe, send us a comment if you think some of the shit that we're saying is bullshit. Doesn't really matter. We just want
We
you to
appreciate
engage.
it all the same.
We love and we appreciate any support that you give us. Thank you all for listening. We hope you have a great day.
Yes, now I'm going to drop a surprise. So it's going to be coming here soon.
Oh,
But
We don't know
got
this.
some stuff in the background. My friend Zach happens to be a big fan of a particular series, and that series is getting a fun new film here in November.
oh, I know where you're going with this.
Hell yeah, brother. All right. So I'll leave you all with that little tidbit, and until then, we'll see you all next time. See you, everybody.